Thank you for joining me, Glen-Nora Tjipura, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, fishing right criteria to be reviewed, Namibian men more suicidal than women, and lack of ambulances risk lives in Kavango. Do stay tuned for these and more news on NMH at 1.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Let's take a look at our midday news update. A 49-year-old Tanzanian-born woman was arrested at Arandis on Friday for allegedly offering a $200 Namibian bribe to a traffic officer who was issuing her a $1,000 Namibian fine for driving a vehicle with an expired license disc. The woman, who works for the state hospital at Walvis Bay, is expected to appear in court today. Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia. Right after the break, we get into that. Stay with NMH at 1.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Let's take a look at our visual news. The mayor of Walvis Bay, Trevino Forbes, extended certificates of recognition to 19 volunteer firefighters who have selflessly served as reservists since the year 1989. The event, held in gratitude for their unwavering commitment, took place as a significant transition unfolded in the town's firefighting landscape. Now, the commendation follows the recent shift to a 24-hour operational model at the firefighting service station. Let's take a look.
Say goodbye to our volunteers after all of these years that you have served with the our fire brigade. This department really appreciates the services that you have put in, your time that you have put in. And I would like to take one specific certificate that I would like to hand over. The rest will still hand over, but this one is to our most senior volunteer. And it says that this certificate is awarded to Mr. Johannes in recognition of your spirited commitment as a volunteer firefighter during the period of 1 March 1989 to 30 November 2023. So Mr. Johannes has been with us now as a volunteer firefighter for the last almost 35 years. Just to take it into consideration that he's a volunteer, so you know what this means. These people have offering themselves up to the service of the community of Walvis Bay for all of these years, and that is really as a voording, as iets om voor dankbaar te wees. You have really sacrificed yourself, your time, Mr. Johannes, you and all of our other volunteers, and we appreciate it. Now, the reason we are saying goodbye to our volunteers is because the municipality of Walvis Bay has started with a new shift system, which our fire chief will be deliberating a little bit more on. And we also acquired the services of our, what are they called? Residents. They also came in. So Walfish Bay Fire Brigade will be operating on a shift system, which will also cut the time that we, our response time will be cut now also. So our guys are no longer working 8 to 5, they are here 24/7. So the fire brigade is operational 24/7 and we are ready to respond anytime. I hope that we are almost near the end procuring our fire truck, Chief, because we need new fire trucks. The fire trucks that we have, they are also coming of age. And I believe that as a responsible local authority, that there is something that we must seriously start looking at in acquiring new fire trucks. Because these gentlemen, as much as they are here, they can't throw those fire with buckets. They need proper equipment. It is our responsibility as leaders to make sure that they have this proper equipment.
In our next video, Deputy Prime Minister Netmo Nanti Ndaitwar said that the government had spent $9 million in assisting flood-affected regions earlier this year. Nanti Ndaitwar revealed these figures today during a press briefing at State House. Let's take a look.
We have to mention from a president that as much as Umsatu was affected by flood, no community was affected. But communities were affected in those three regions of Oshana, Ohangwena, and Ozambezi region. Subsequently, in order to help with flood relief program and also to relocate some of the people, an amount of 9 million was spent. In Oshana region, a total of 568 households were affected and 277 people were evacuated to safer places. For a period of 3 months they were there. And coming to Hangwena region, 2,530 households were affected and 422 people were relocated to temporary locations where they stayed for a period of 3 months. And in Ozambezi region, a total of 412 households were helped, as well as some school programs for a period of 4 months. So this is how we have handled the flood that has affected us at the beginning of the year.
After the break, the Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review segment.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's take a look at today's daily newspapers, starting off with the Namibian Sun's front page that reports that essential healthcare services appear to be a luxury for critically ill patients in the rural areas of the Kavango region, with some forced to fork out hundreds of dollars to hitchhike to the nearest healthcare facility, the alternative. Now waiting for an ambulance that could take up to 5 hours to arrive, if at all. A sick person from Kurukuvisa village in the Kavango West region has to pay $180 Namibian for a 100-kilometer round trip to the nearest clinic at Gaswashinga village and back, Namibian Sun found. Now Gashawinga is about 80 kilometers from Rundu. Those who cannot afford the hitchhike fare are left with no option but to use donkey or oxen carts to reach the nearest healthcare facility. On page 3, fisheries workers, some of whom are integral to the country's fight against illegal fishing in Namibian waters, have threatened to down tools if their outstanding overtime claims are not settled. The situation has now seemingly pitted the ministry's top bosses against the workers, with a letter claiming their concerns are not being taken seriously. It is understood that overtime for fisheries observers and inspectors has been outstanding for more than 4 months, leaving workers no choice but to consider stopping overtime work, subsequently giving private fishing companies leeway to do as they please during their fishing expeditions without watchdogs on their vessels. Moving over to the Republicans' front page, it reports on residents of the 5 settlements around the Mambwata National Park, as well as members of the Kavango Open Africa route, are upset about plans to establish lodges in the Mahango and Buffalo core areas, respectively. The group threatened to go to the Anti-Corruption Commission of Namibia since the plans appeared to be in direct opposition to the official management plan of the park. They also question if any impact study in connection with these was done, because Mahango Park was recently designated as a Ramsar. On page 3, Health Minister Dr. Kalumbi Shangula has agonized over how delays in health tenders, including the $1.7 billion clinical supplies tender that was first initiated in August 2021, have pushed the public health sector to the verge of a crisis. The tender, in which 419 critical items are needed, is set to transcend into a 4th year amid a litany of cancellations and court challenges. The ministry first submitted the bid to the Central Procurement Board of Namibia in August 2021. The bid evaluation committee's report was adjudicated more than a year later, on the 21st of December 2022. Only on the 11th of January 2023 did CBBN issue an award selection notice. Now moving over to the Allgemeine Zeitung's front page, it carries a report about the Daures project northwest of the town Uys, where, contrary to the expectations of some skeptics, the Daures Green Hydrogen Village is making substantial progress with its building process so far, meeting and adhering to the laid down timetable for the development of a settlement and agricultural project that will see it not only providing jobs but livelihoods to the local folk. As and when future goals are met, this development project will mass produce green hydrogen and ammonia for export within the next 4 to 5 years. On the Allgemeine Zeitung's page 3 tells more about FES Media Africa, the media arm of the resident bureau of the German Friedrich Ebert Foundation, which hosted a virtual public dialogue during which stakeholders were allowed the opportunity to discuss the crucial role of law-based data protection aimed at safeguarding the individual right to freedom and privacy on the African continent. To date, just under 65% of African countries have made some form of commitment to data protection, and even that commitment does not always conform to norms. Some notable names like Lengiwe Dube, Maxwell Agudume Kandiri, and Henry Omusundi Maina took part in the discussions that acknowledge the existence of instruments like the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, the so-called Malambo Convention, while pointing out that much needs to be done, especially in regards to the forced collection of personal data, similar to what MTC does in Namibia. After the break, we'll continue with more newspaper review.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
the second half of our newspaper review segment, the Namibian reports that Fisheries and Marine Resources Minister Derek Claassen told industry stakeholders at Walvis Bay a study will be conducted to review fishing rights criteria during the 2024 to 2025 financial year. The review will allow the ministry to assess if right holders adhere to the set variation criteria and implement applicable measures which will inform the continuation of termination of such fishing rights, he said. Namibian Confederation of Fishing Association Chairperson Mati Amwakwa said the industry needs a predictable quota allocation system for all holders based on their performance in the past fishing season. Moving over to page 3, former Fisheries and Marine Resources Minister Bernard Esau and one of his co-accused in the Fish-Rod Fishing Quotas fraud, corruption and racketeering case, Nigel van Wyk, are due to hear in 2 weeks if they have had success with their latest application to be granted bail. This is after Judge David Munsu on Friday postponed the delivery of his ruling on the two men's request to be granted bail to 12th December. The two men's bail hearing before Munsu started in the Windhoek High Court on the 14th of December last year. Moving over to the New Era's front page, which leads that recent statistics from the Health Ministry indicate that between August 2022 and June this year, 623 people committed suicide, of whom 511 were men, representing nearly 82% of people who opted to end their lives by suicide. The study conducted by the ministry shows that suicides in Namibia are mainly caused by depression, followed by rejection, hopelessness, family problems, poor self-worth, and wanting others to know the pain the victims are in. On page 3, Prime Minister Sarah Kukongwela Amadila said infighting amongst local authority leaders and staff, coupled with unethical conduct, diverts attention and resources from pressing priorities, leaving the public underserved. She said that the government expects local authorities to embrace principles of teamwork amongst the various stakeholders involved in governance and local development, professionalism, ethic, and integrity. Now moving over to Market Watch, which reports that there have been a host of problems at South African ports, in particular Durban, with some 71,000 containers stuck outside the entry point last week. Nick Wilson from Mr. Price says the instability at South Africa's ports could negatively affect the industry's autumn fashion lines in 2024 if delays persist. While South African retailers have increasingly been turning to local manufacturing to secure a large part of their supply chains, they still depend on overseas markets for most of their fabric, even if it is then turned into clothing locally. Now, after this short break, we'll be getting into your economic news.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Getting into our economic news, Total Energies will kick off a 3D seismic shoot early next year over the southern part of 2913B to cover the promising Damara and South Damara structures in Namibia's Orange Basin, Africa Oil has revealed. Africa Oil is a Canadian-listed oil and gas company with an indirect 6.2% stake in the two blocks in blocks 2913B and 2912 through its 31.1% ownership of Impact Oil and Gas. Chief Executive of Africa Oil, Roger Tucker, said that by the fourth quarter of next year, results should also be known from the ongoing Venus 1A appraisal well, where the deep-sea mirror has been performing drill stem testing and multiple flares were recently seen on satellite data. Let's get into our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 23.57, against the euro at 20.50, against the US dollar at 18.73. 2 Namibian dollars and 62 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the Namibia Stock Exchange, all major stocks remain unchanged. Overall index went up at 0.11%, while local index went down at 0.11%. On the commodities market, gold and platinum went up while copper and Brent crude oil went down. Brent crude oil trading at 1.89%, going for $79.34 per barrel. Getting into our news from Africa, starting off with Malawian opposition politicians and rights groups have criticized President Lazarus Chakwera and his government for sending 221 young Malawians to work on farms in Israel. The move on Saturday followed Israel's aid package of $60 million 2 weeks ago to help Malawi's economic recovery. The labor export deal has been criticized amid concerns over the secrecy with which it was done and the potential risk to citizens at a time when Israel conflicts with the Palestinian Hamas group. Now, the government has gone into such an agreement with Israeli companies when it is fully aware that there is a war. No sane parent can send his or her child to work in a country that is at war. Malawian opposition leader Kondwani Nankumwa told the Anadolu news agency. He added that the labor export deal was an evil transaction. The government has defended the deal, saying that it will export Malawians to Israel and other countries to fulfill this administration's commitment to job creation and youth empowerment. The government also assured of the safety and security of the Malawians, saying that they will work in locations which are classified as fit and safe and will be provided with medical insurance and repatriation protections. Now, after this short break, we'll be getting into your international news. In our international news, 6 teenagers will go on trial behind closed doors today, accused of involvement in the beheading of French history teacher Samuel Paty by a suspected Islamist in 2020 in an attack that struck at the heart of the country's secular values. The teacher had shown his pupils cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in a class on freedom of expression, angering a number of Muslim parents. Muslims believe that any depiction of the Prophet is blasphemous. One of the minors is a 15-year-old girl who allegedly told her parents that Paty had shown caricatures of the Prophet in her class. She will be charged with false accusation after it was established that she was not in the class when it happened. Paty, 47, was killed outside his school in a Paris suburb by an 18-year-old assailant born in Russia of Chechen origin. He was shot dead by police soon after the attack. The 5 other minors to be prosecuted, aged between 14 and 15 at the time of the attack, will be charged with premeditated criminal conspiracy or ambush. They are suspected of having pointed out Paty to the murderer or helped monitor his exit from the school. All 6 minors were referred to the Children's Court and could face 2.5 years in prison. The hearings, due to last until the 8th of December, will be held behind closed doors. Now, after this short break, we'll be getting into your local sports news.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika.
Getting into our local sports news, the 2023 Nedbank Namibia National XCM Championship races took place at the IJG Trials. Alex Miller and Vera Loser have once again won the 2023 championship for the UCI XCM Elite Under 23 men and women category. They will receive Namibia national champion titles and jerseys to represent Namibia in international cycling competitions. The Green Kick football exhibition match between Global United FC and Coastal Legends was an occasion that lived up to its expectations as a goal fest. The game between the two sides ended at 6-6. Moving on, a number of favored teams came off second best during rounds 10 and 11 of the Debmarine Namibia Premier League this weekend. At Karasburg, young Brazilians FC scored a famous 4-3 win over their visitors from Hello, Nafidi, a shock. Sorry. Okay, we now move over to our international sports news. Let's go to a quick commercial break before we get into your international sports news.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
We apologize for the technical difficulties experienced. Let's get into your international sports news. Manchester United rubbed salt into Everton's wounds as Alejandro Garnacho's stunning overhead kick helped the Red Devils to a 3-0 win that left the Toffees rooted in the Premier League relegation zone. Now, Juventus manager Massimiliano Allegri is wary of a complicated trip to face mid-table Monza later this week after losing both home and away to them in a Serie A last season. Juventus remained second after Sunday's home 1-1 draw with leaders Inter Milan taking the lead through Dusan Vlahovic before Lautaro Martinez equalized. Moving on, South African Dean Burmester claimed his third European Tour title after a 3-shot victory in the Joburg Open in Johannesburg on Sunday. After this short break, we'll be getting into the highlights. Getting into the highlights from today's broadcast, Malawian opposition politicians and rights groups have criticized President Lazarus Chakwera and his government for sending 221 young Malawians to work on farms in Israel. 6 teenagers will go on trial behind closed doors today, accused of involvement in the beheading of French history teacher Samuel Paty by a suspected Islamist in 2020 in an attack that struck at the heart of the country's secular values. Now, the Green Kick football exhibition match between Global United FC and Coastal Legends was an occasion that lived up to its expectations as a goal fest. The game between the two sides ended at 6-6. Now, those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1. Catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. From me, Glen-Nora Tjipura, until next time.